The problem is it's too good of a card is the problem.
Good day, Tamers. Welcome back to episode 5 of Good Card, Bad Card. I'm your host, Gear Swiftly, joined with my co-host here, Willie B, aka Replay. Replay, would you like to introduce the new card of the week?
Hello, I'm back. I've been invited again for some reason, and we're here to talk about Davis and Ken, the BT16. I'm bringing the card up right now to remind me of his exact wording. But essentially, the card's risen to prominence since BT16 came out, particularly Imperial Dramon. However, I would argue it's actually too generically powerful of a card, even though it's not gotten to that point yet. Because it's a 4-cost Tamer, which we've seen many of. It gives you the blue and green, which enables some of the options if you want to use it that way. I'm definitely not stalling for time as I open the card up. And then we get to the actual effects of the card. Start of your main phase, you can play Vmon or Wormmon. Unlike many other effects of its kind, there is no restrictions to this. You can just play Vmon or Wormmon. You've got 5 Digimon out? Cool, you have 6 now. And the downside is it returns to hand at the end of the turn, which in a lot of cases is not a downside, because it just so happens that Vmon and Wormmon have quite a few searches in them. And they like searching cards. The Digimon itself can't attack unless you DNA, but that's a point I'll get to later.
That's a different issue for a different
time. It is just a searcher. It's a card that's used as an engine. Magnet X has used it, which is coming up a surprisingly large amount of times. But it's a card that's used it because it just lets them play the Vmon, get a search, and then if the opponent wants to answer it, they can. They'd have to invest something to do it, or maybe just they have a when Digivolving that deletes a Digimon, you never know. But they have to do something to interact with it, or else they get it back, and then next turn, I'm going to search it again. I'm going to search my entire deck until I find what I want. It's a card that, knowing what the Vmon and Wormmons are, knowing that they have... Vmon especially has a lot of utility, because you have Promo Vmon that lets you reduce Digivolution cost if you have a Tamer. Davis Ken is a Tamer, so it's essentially a guaranteed 1-cost Digivolution reduction. Obviously, it would be bouncing, assuming you don't use it in some other way, but you have to keep that in mind. There is Red Vmon that lets you gain a memory. There is Wormmon that lets you, I think, Digivolve from trash for cost less. I'm not familiar with Wormmon, but there was a lot of utility.
On play, as long as it's your, start a turn, on play, as long as it's your turn. I actually have it in front of me, oddly enough, because I got it approved stamped for my Whirlpool deck. Start off your main phase, on play, if it is your turn. Just because there are a lot of effects in Whirlpool that actually will let you play on your opponent's turn, but that's neither here nor there. One of your Digimon may Digivolve into a level 4 Digimon card with the Insectoid or Free trait from your trash with the Digivolution cost reduced by 1. So the reason why it's worded the way it is because it works just as its own archetype in Insect, but obviously free is generally what you're playing in anything from 02.
The free trait. Okay. Interesting. I think based on the wording of that, it shouldn't work in the start of main if you play a Daiken, because it wasn't there at the start of main phase
start
when
of main
it's
or on play.
I missed that part. I apologise. Okay, I apologise then. Okay.
Whirlpool lets you play your stuff out at the end of... Sorry for that. Whirlpool, if you die on your opponent's turn or at any point, can let you play this out with the old stuff. So if you just die for whatever reason, you just play it out. Obviously, it doesn't get the effect anymore. Whereas the new stuff is all end of turn, so basically you just never stop going like a lunatic into your big stacks again and keep swinging because they've all got haste again.
So going back to it, so that's the first part of the effects. So we're still talking about only the first part of the card. There is a lot of utility in Vmon and Wormmons. Like, you can get searches, you can set up yourself to just play for the turn. Obviously, this is intended for DNA decks, so if you were to then play out your turn and then DNA using the Vmon and Wormmon, you would then not bounce the card at the end of the turn because it's a new Digimon, and it would effectively have Rush because DNA Digimon can attack the turn they're Digivolved into. The second part of the effect is also very DNA specific, but also generic at the same time. It has the effect of when you Digivolve a blue or green Digimon into a free trait, it needs to be free. When one of your Digimon Digivolves into blue or green Digimon by spending his Tamer, gain memory. So it doesn't actually have to even be a free trait Digimon. It's just if you Digivolve into a blue or green Digimon, you can gain a memory. So it's effectively a memory gain Tamer, because if you are running Vmon and Wormmon, there is a decent chance you're also playing blue or green in your deck in some form. So it's a memory gain Tamer in that sense. And unlike option cards or other effects, it can't be negated by any of the memory negation rookies. And then if you are DNA Digivolving, you Digivolve any free Digivolution sources from the opponent's Digimon, which is a lot of versatility for source removal. Most source removal, it's like the top three or the bottom two or things like that. Just any three from any combination. It's very powerful. So it does a lot of things well, and it's strange because there are other cards that are similar to it. There is a Yoli and Kari that play a Hawkmon or Salamon, and there is a Cody and TK that plays an Armadillo or a Patamon. But Davis and Ken stands out because the power of the Vmon and Wormmons are significantly higher than the Patamon, the Hawkmons, the Armadillomons, the Hawk. I think I said Hawkmon already. Whichever one I didn't say. Salamon. That is one I didn't say.
They also just have just a better support overall as well, because Daiken and Davis's Digimon have had 2 extra waves of support, whereas the other duo sets of Tamers just haven't really been supported specifically as much. Some of them have very good cards still, we won't take that away from them, but the extra like 3 Vmons, the extra like 2 Wormmons make a surprisingly big difference.
Yes, and as I said, the cost of this is that they get bounced to hand. Cost being said in quotes, because the opponent knows a card's bouncing. They don't really want to invest a card in removing it. They might, if they're going to their level 6 stack, delete it anyway, just as a byproduct. But like, if you're holding a removal in your hand or something, you don't want to use it to get rid of a thing that's bouncing anyway, even if it's going to go. The extreme of this being Magna X that has the Magnamon that when it would leave play, you draw a card and play a Vmon from the source, so you can play the Vmon that you're going to Digivolve at the end of your opponent's turn, because the BT13 Magnamon this is just when it would leave play type of effect, so you can take advantage of that to get essentially infinite searching and not have to lose any advantage for it. It's, I'd say the issue, I would be happy enough with the card being limited. It's not one that I think has to be banned necessarily, but it definitely snowballs out of control when you have multiple, because if you're just searching and searching twice a turn, if you're able to DNA, if you're playing a DNA deck every turn, especially if you're playing DNA deck every turn, but if you're just getting to search, getting 2 memory every time you Digivolve, if you have 2 or more, it just snowballs out of control. Now, the memory gain, to be fair, isn't unique to Davis and Ken. There are many Tamers in Digimon now that just gain the memory in some way, and I think there's a general problem with them snowballing out. Like, Yellow TK was limited, and partly because it enabled you to know what you have at the bottom of your security, so you can go off on your first or your second turn if you want to, because on the first turn you'd be playing the TK. But one of the other reasons he was hit was because as soon as you have like him down, Yellow would be gaining a memory effectively every turn if it's playing the way it wants to. And then if you get more, you start gaining even more memory, and it just goes further and further out of control. It's a problem that I personally think the game has right now, where memory gain Tamers are just too powerful in multiples. And Davis and Ken is a part of that. It's just I single out this card in particular because it enables just so much consistency once you get started. Now, obviously, you might just run out of Vmon or Wormmon. That is a possibility, especially if you're throwing them out at DNAing a few times, or you've just got unlucky and haven't drawn any. But it doesn't help that the Vmon and Wormmons that do search can also search other Vmon and Wormmons, because they search free trait Digimon for the most part. I don't know everyone off by heart.
All of the O2 Tamers Digimon are all free traits.
Oh, right. So yeah, so you can keep finding more and more with them. Even Ukamon if you're playing it in the deck as well for whatever reason.
Because he's technically part of the O2 universe.
That is true. He certainly is. Happy birthday, everyone. So, but yeah, that's my issue. It represents two, like, you can't, in a lot of decks, if you get rid of their big stack and they don't have a thing in raising, they are dead for a turn. Like, they will spend their next turn setting up a Digimon in raising, ideally. Maybe they play a few trainings or memory boosts. Maybe they put hard player Digimon out if they can. But most decks, you can feel safe in the knowledge that they're probably not going to do anything for the next turn. Another exception is being hybrid decks, of course. But that's more of an archetype of a deck as a whole, not a specific card. Whereas Davis and Ken, like, if that card is in play, you can't shut the opponent down entirely, because they are always going to have a Digimon to play. Assuming this is assuming like an average situation where they actually have the card. It's possible they just don't have a Vmon and Wormmon, of course, in the same way that you can whiff on many other cards in the game. But there is no shutdown to the situation. They will, if it is out, that you are always under threat. There is no turn of stability for you to be like, okay, my opponent is not going to do anything for now. There's no punishment, isn't the right word, because it's not like the card can always attack. It's not like they can always go into a bigger stack with it, but you can't have as much of a window to keep them down. I think is the best word I can come up with, or phrase I can come up with at this moment. It's there's no off switch to it, and that's why I want it hit, especially being at 2. I think especially if, no, not being at 2, especially if they have 2 or more, it's just too much. It's so difficult to get a winning situation from that point. I'm not letting you speak at all, Gito. Do you have anything to say to that?
Just to finish your points off, as I did kind of like jump in with like a little sort of like side facts. As someone who enjoys this card, I'm going to have to say a little bit more of a different opinion. But that's because I look at this more as an engine, and I'm looking for this in other decks that aren't really going to get the benefits of the secondary effects of this card, which is gaining the memory or stripping sources. Because for a cost of 4, it sounds like a lot, but first turn's always the best turn to drop a card if you can't put them down with a level 4 effect. Next turn, I get a free Digimon. Turn after that, if it's in my hand, I get another Digimon down for free. And you just constantly do this. The other thing is, at the end of your opponent's turn, if they haven't dealt with them, they go back to your hand, which means, hey, my searcher is back in my hand again, I can search again. It's just a reoccurrence engine, which I just think is really good. Like, for instance, I played this, I'm one of those horrible people that plays it in Magna X. 2 of, it comes up, and generally speaking, your opponents just want to pull their hair out. Looking at something like Rurple, for instance, I'm looking at playing this with the promo Ken, for instance, because I want to use it as like a Wormmon engine more than anything else, and then just getting the searches out, the on-play search, trash, and return. Playing the BT16 one, which is the on-play, Digivolve up into something from the trash, Shardramon, and then a lot of this is just essentially, it's all about recursion for me, as opposed to it being more of a Defiance engine. Again, we both agree it's a very good card. Now, depending on how you look at it, how powerful it is, I always have to say you have to look at the deck as a whole, not just its pieces, and that is why when we did the Mirage video, it's more of a case of we don't think the deck itself is overly busted, but we do think the top end is overtuned for what it's doing, which is just gatekeeping a lot of people from actually playing the card game like a card game should be played. If a card game is not interactive, it's not a good card game. What's the point of playing solitaire if you're meant to be playing a 2-player game? But I would say that I don't think Daiken itself needs to be limited, or I don't think it really needs to be looked at. It's possibly one of the only cards I could say that as a 2 of, it's probably as powerful as it ever really needs to be. Because as you said, once you find one, you've generally got your engine going. The only issue I think it is again, it's only within its own archetype of blue-green Imperial, which is the one that just says, hey, print me some memory, rip the sources out, make it so that your opponent doesn't get to play the game. I'm now going to go up into my level 6. I'm then going to go into my other level 6. I'm then going to start like pressurizing the game. Oh, you've defeated me one way or the other. Well, I have partition, or I have the option card on the field, and it's just more in its own deck. It's just very aggressive at what it wants to do, whereas in the other decks that it's very useful in, it doesn't really have the same effect. Like if you just printed that card with just at the start of turn, play a Vmon or a Wormmon out, that card would still be just very good.
It would, and that
even at 4 cost, I think it's probably still within the range of just being a very good card for just playing a card for free.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it would be played if it was just at 4 cost still. If it was 3 cost, maybe.
Not its own archetype, I don't think it would be. But I think in the other ones where they don't have Tamers in the same range, I think that would just be very good to just keep churning bodies out.
If the deck doesn't mind its level 3s too much and can just run Vmons, it almost feels worth it because of Davis Ken Vmons. Or Wormmons, that is true. But obviously Vmon have a slightly more utility.
Yeah, I'd say there's a few better Vmons than there is Wormmons. For instance, in all the Vmon decks, you can kind of get away with just running the Vmon versions because you have like 3 searches.
Yeah, it stands out because the Vmon and Wormmons are so good, but I'm not going to argue they should hit Vmons and Wormmons because this card exists. Although I do think Promo Vmon might also be a card over the line. But that's another discussion for another time, potentially.
It's no better than any of the other promo ones. It's just because it's a Vmon, so it has more support for it.
Possibly. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head right now.
They all do the same thing.
Or reduce the Digivolution cost by 1 and when attacking draw card, sorry. Is that all of them?
No, they're all searches. Sorry, all the other ones are searches, which are very good for their own archetype. Because
that is true.
They're all the duo color searches.
Yeah, they were catching up.
Yeah, they're all duo color searches, and I think it's the end of turn Digivolve, maybe.
End of
DNA.
turn DNA, maybe, yeah.
There you go. You know
Uh,
what? Instead of saying it does this, I'm just going to actually look up the other
yeah,
ones. So
I'm looking them up. Yeah, Wormmon is a searcher, addable green, end of turn
yeah,
DNA.
we know everything on this channel. God damn it! As long as I live.
But yeah, Vmon, the promo Vmon, I think, is another card that could be looked at. Being a not once per turn draw card, when it just happens to have a few cards that can attack multiple times a turn. The reducing a Digivolution cost.
But to be fair,
It's
that's the combat trick for Magna. To be fair, because it's technically a Magna Vmon rather than the Imperial Vmon. It just happens to
it
be it
is.
works as well in both decks.
Yeah, yeah, it does. But like I say, that's another card that I think we could talk about at some point. Like, is it worth being hit? Which
Yeah.
would be very interesting to see a rookie as a card being hit.
So this is what we're going to play. The game is now. It's the closer we get to the end of a video, the closer we keep telling you we're going to talk about another card in the future, which isn't any time soon, by the way. It's just sometime in the future when we run out of ideas.
At some point, we're adding to the list as we go. Again, number 87 is going to be Madoki Betamon.
Maybe it's not powerful enough. It's just very good at what it does.
No, it's not.
Just
But I'm
to
committing to the
answer
bit.
your
Number
question
87.
earlier, because the very few words I did hear at your mouth when you were doing your monologue was nothing can stop this card from doing things. There are rookies out there that say you can't play things by effects.
That is true.
And there are other Digimon
Yes.
like the new Rurple. If you read the new comic this week that I've forgotten about already, you just say can't play things by effects. Can't play Tamers or Digimon by effects.
That is true. There are cards that let you prevent that, but
So,
I
I
brought it up before,
Rurple
which
is meant to counter the blue-green version.
that makes sense.
Because I think the whole idea of it's meant to be more of a case of like, oh, you think you get to play your game? Well, I've killed you now. You can try and partition, but you're still dead.
Yeah, I've not really mentioned it before. I might have even said this before, not really thought about it. I try to avoid saying there are counters to this as a justification to not
I do think
say something's not good.
You have to look at the picture as a whole, though. When we do say like it's like a lot of cards
there
are
are
very
answers.
good on
You
their
are
own.
right. When I said there's no answers, that is true. There is things you can do. So I maybe shouldn't have phrased it like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like it was strong enough that decks were having to put in cards just to stop it from happening.
That's the thing. That's it. It's like how powerful is the card? Is there a way to counter it? And is it a simple counter?
Yeah.
If it's like I can counter it, but it's like it warps my deck around it, then that's not good. But if it's like because slotting 2 rookies, it's like no, that's not a big deal. Not in this day and age, anyway. Give me the goddamn Vmon that says you can't reduce play costs.
Oh god, no! Don't give the Vmon lines more utility.
Specifically a Rurple card.
Put it in perf.
Put it in purple. Never see it play anything else.
Yeah. I did forget to mention that. Yeah, I try to avoid saying there is ways of dealing with things, justification for it, because at the end of the day, you just may not have that thing.
Yeah,
and that exactly doesn't mean every color has access to it. I know there is meant to be rock paper scissors where some color counter others, but like
as we discussed in like episode 2, I think it's more of like a Venn diagram at this point where it's like this does this to this to this.
Yeah, we'll think of 4 other symbols you can make for hand, and then make our own 7-way split because there's white as well.
There you go.
Even I think the only only 2 pure white decks I can think of are Eosmon and D Reaper.
Yeah, pure white, yes.
I guess Omnimon as well.
He's like partly white because it's like red, white, and blue. So
yeah, depend. I was thinking more like the pure Omnimon deck that came out for a while, but yeah. The more to the point, there is meant to be counters, and some colors have access to utilities that others don't. But I try to not justify the card's okay because some colors can answer it if they have the card in that specific moment.
Yeah, I also try and look at it as well from more like a meta point of view when we do some of these, because sometimes it's a case of like it's just a strong card, but if it doesn't see play, it doesn't matter if it's a strong card then. Whereas in this deck, it does see some play because it's one of those decks that it's fairly easy to get hold of. It's fairly easy to learn to play. It's fairly easy to do well with it. I think mastering the deck is very hard, as we saw a few people who did very well with it earlier in the year who were using like blue card, for instance, which it's living in my head rent free, even like nearly a year later that like deck won a regional. I think I cast for it, so that's probably why it lives in my head free, but nonetheless. But yeah, like things like that, it's just like I do agree, very good card. I do agree in Breen. I have no idea what we call the blue-green version. I think it's just Imperial. Way too good for that deck. I think if it just said, hey, a start of turn, play a free Digimon, I think that's just a good enough effect on its own. Worst case scenario, if it just said, like, if you have a free trait Digimon in play, gain a memory, and then or start a turn maybe, so that way, if your board's wiped, it doesn't work that way. But, if there's some counterplay to it, maybe that way. But yeah, I do think having a way to print memory is never the best thing to do in a card game, especially when that's how you play your card game. Especially when memory is more of a fluid back and forth in this game, unlike other card games where the resource can be used during your opponent's turn as well as your own turn. Whereas, as a rule, besides acing, once your memory goes to your opponent's turn, there's nothing you're really doing for the rest of that turn. And as we've already said, source stripping is a weird one because it's annoying as it can be. There's not many decks that really benefit from it. Obviously, Paildramon from BT16 does benefit from it because it stuns you, and it just keeps you stunned for a turn, which is just annoying. And it also allows it to unsuspend, I believe. Because I mean,
the Imperial one unsuspends once. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think it's
Only one
unsuspend
Imperial one does.
if your opponent has a suspended Digimon.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like when attacking, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon with less sources than you, and it can't unsuspend until the end of their opponent's turn. And then, if your opponent has a suspended Digimon, unsuspend, or vice versa.
Yeah, so it's something like that. It's a deck that I've not played that much of myself, so I'm not.
So I haven't looked at the cards properly for a while.
Yeah,
again, we have this thing called the TCG Plus Bandai app that's very good for searching cards, and neither of us really use it until it's too late.
I can name you cards a lot of the time. I don't actually know entirely what all of them do.
Beautiful Ultimate Paildramon. When Digivolving, spend all of your opponent's Digimon with the set as many or fewer Digivolution cards in this Digimon. Then, if DNA Digivolving, none of those Digimon can unsuspend until the end of their turn. When attacking, when attacking once per turn, suspend one of your opponent's unsuspended Digimon. If this effect didn't suspend, to unsuspend this Digimon. There you go. That's what it was.
Yeah, so I knew it was something like that.
Everything's already fell over sideways. You get to unsuspend and punch them again. Because you have jamming and piercing, because why
not? Exactly, of course.
But yeah, I agree in its own deck, it's just probably way too potent of a card.
Yeah.
But I think in any other V or Worm engine style deck, it's actually just a very good utility card.
Oh, you know what? Live right now has just come in of the announcement. Shademon's getting a reprint for Rurple. So you were saying about Rurple using the card a bit earlier. There we go. The card's becoming more accessible.
You say Shadra?
Shadra, yeah.
You saying full Shadra?
Yes, it's the coloured border version, red purple in the event pack. Oh wait, no, that's from the regionals apparently. Apparently. Oh no, it can't be the regionals because it's not got a stamp. It must be the event pack. Yeah.
I will take it. I mean, I already have my playset, but I'm a rarity whore, so I will definitely take it my shiny card when I can get it. If anyone wants to do some trades with me, I'm happy to trade the old stuff out for the shiny cards.
I will probably take you up on that trade because I don't think I have one, assuming I get the card from my event packs throughout the year.
I'm pretty sure you did very well in these event packs this last year. I feel like you did, compared to me anyway.
I got a ridiculous amount of Def Xmon.
I feel like my overall value from the EPs this year was like
I think one in three of my event packs for that season, I've had a Def Xmon.
I mean, if you sold them, which I know you didn't, but if you had sold them on time, you'd have made a little pretty penny.
I would have done, but I never sell cards, even though I should.
Also, tell me how to date a reference to a video faster than, hey, look, they've just dropped X card on.
No, the exact minute we were recording this. But I just thought that's a fun little thing to add because I saw it right there and then.
Talking about the episode, talking about the card that just dropped at the exact same time, fantastic. But this is the thing. So yeah, Rurple needs a different disconnotation. This is literally about good card, bad card. I will say Davis BT16, Daiken BT16, very good card. I don't think it needs limiting, but I say this with the fact that they cannot play the Tamer for free.
That is true. That is the one downside.
Card that says play a Davis or Ken in name for free, I will be like, you got to limit that card or ban it.
Yeah, that is true. That is one thing not mentioned. That is
the only thing keeping me from the whole argument. When everyone says like this card's too powerful, it's like, yeah, but I got to pay 4 to get it out on the field, and that's a lot of memory for you that turn.
Yeah, the thing is it's not quite the same, but in the logic of if you go turn 1 Digivolve and then just play Daiken, then if you would have just played the Vmon anyway, you've essentially paid 4 cost to play a 3 cost Vmon instead on your next turn, but the opponent doesn't know that you're going to do it, so it takes away a bit of information.
Yeah.
So in that sense, if you're to like that, it's like dropping it turn 1 is always fine.
Also costs 1 extra. That's the thing. So
it does cost 1 extra, but if you Digivolve, you gain that
next
1
turn. I hopefully have a Surger in hand that I can throw on the field to search, but then hopefully I'll also be going up into a DNA form as well. So
yeah. But I disagree. I think it should be limited, mostly because when there is more than one, it's especially too powerful.
I
know fine
totally agree with that. Again, once we get a card that just says, like, if we get a Vmon or a Stigmon that says play a sorry, if there's one or less Tamers on the field, you may play a Davis or a Ken, because obviously, they specific their own Tamer. Then I will say, like, this card needs limiting to one at best. Probably banning it would be too strong, but as a one-of, I think it's okay, because you're still going to find the card, even though it's very searchable in both decks. And then, obviously, you've got to still play it as well. Whereas, I could possibly argue the promo versions that just let you play out a Digimon for free for a cost of free are also very powerful. Especially
They are very powerful. That whole
the ones that I think at the start of turn gain you memory if there's a free trait Digimon on the field.
Yes, they are generic. Do that. You can also technically Digivolve with them, but let's be real, who does that?
Yeah, I don't think many people do, but I'm pretty sure there will be ways of it, especially in like Whirlpool or something like that, where you can just throw it down the field, Digivolve up into something, and all of a sudden everything's just DNA Digivolving for like a 5-minute sequence. London now, very good card, a little bit too powerful its own archetype. Can't be played for free. I'm okay where it is now. The second it can be played for free, limit or ban it.
Yeah, I sort of agree, but I think I'm not
any Tamer card that costs 4 or more that can be played for free is where you need to be careful, like how powerful that card is.
Generally yes, but I'm also a fan of hitting a card if it's clear it's going to be a problem in the future. I'm also a fan of it being hit now in many cases, because otherwise we get an extended time where it is a problem for a very long time.
I'm always happy with Bandai to release a ban list of cards that are good as of what we know information-wise, and go, as of this date, because it's the day before, or it's the day of when this set drops, this card's going to be limited or banned, because it has some funky interactions with these cards, and we've been playtesting them, and you're going to piss and moan at us if you don't. For instance, if we get a Magnamon, for whatever reason, when Digivolving just plays out a Davis for free, I think people are going to be pissed. Most people probably want your next Stingmon, but nonetheless, even if any Digimon just says play out a Davis for free, that's when you can have an issue.
If that comes to that,
promo Davis goes to the moon, baby.
That promo line is so good; it's so slept on.
I love it. It's just weird engine.
It feels weird playing them, but man, turn one, if you just go, oh yeah, I'm going to play Digivolve something, throw down Davis, get a Vmon out, and do whatever that Vmon does, whether it's a search or you're set up with like the promo for next turn. It's like, well, opponent, you are going first. You're going second. You have 3 memory. What are you going to do now? Because do you want to answer my threat that's now in play, so I don't even have to raise?
And or they do the same thing again, which they go promo Davis, and you're like, oh shit, you're on Imperial. And they're like, no. Then they go up into the starter deck, Magna, remove your thing from the field. You're like, crap, I'm back 1 turn.
It's fine. Let them do it if they want. I'll just raise instead. It'll be fine. But yeah.
So I think we're both in the camp where it's a very good card either way. But I think we both lean slightly less towards get rid of it now, when I think you're sort of more towards that end of the camp than anything else.
Yeah, I think at some point that card will have to be limited.
Yeah, I think limited. I will agree on that. At any point where we see any form of good support for that will make that card just instantly hit the field, and you got to limit it to 1, because anything more than that, you're just going to be laughing at your opponent. Oh no, it cost me 2. I've now dropped the Davis and Ken. That if you can't remove this turn, next turn I will flood the field and you will suffer and piss. How do you plead?
No.
Pretty much. But no, we both agree. Good. Once it can be played free, limit it. If it's still too good, ban it.
Yep.
And then they'll
limit it. I don't think it ever has to be banned, but I think
I'm always weird with like banned like cards, because it does feel sometimes that they limit it because they can't have it as anything more than either full 1 or 0. But then sometimes 0 is the only real answer.
Maybe like I said, I don't think it's like 1 is annoying, but you can deal with it.
Yeah.
Like 2 is where it becomes a massive problem.
2 is when you just basically every time you DNA Digivolve, you keep turn.
Yeah, I think I said that earlier. Like one of the problems the game has is Tamers become significantly better the more of them you get to play.
As a 1 of, very good. As 2 of, as 3 of, now you're playing your own game.
Yeah, and that's been the problem even as far back as BT4, where you have Purple Kari just stopping the opponent from winning the game. Oh, you hit me once. Cool, it's my turn.
Yeah. Oh, you've hit me 3 times. All right, let me suspend this Tamer to go to 1 memory, and now I've got 3 extra shields back up. It's like, what happened? When did this happen? How have you recovered 3 for 1 memory?
Yep.
Oh, it's how we do it in yellow. Apparently so. But yes, as a 30-minute episode of Daiken good, Daiken bad, it's very good, going to be very painful in the future if they keep releasing support. But as I've said like multiple times now, until we get a Stingmon or a XVmon or a Magnamon that says throw a Davis and Ken onto the field like a goddamn nightclub whore, I think we're okay.
Yeah.
So that's been me. It's been Willie B, and it's ta-ra from me, and
Bye for now.
and then we'll catch you in the next one, whenever the next one is. This was 5, right? Maybe. Bye, everyone.
Bye.